With the NFL schedule just about to be released in less than 24 hours, we're right back here in the studio with my main man, Shane O'Mac. And finally, we figured out the video thing, where we're right next to each other. Well, we're at over 75 on Twitter, and we've signed three new handicappers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we start off with, of course, before we get to the NFL schedule, which will show more of the graphics about wins and losses and who do you think we're going to win. Obviously, we're pulling for a particular team, and who's actually going to be garbage. We'll talk about that, especially the Steelers. I mean, do they even have a quarterback? That's a key thing. But we start off, of course, with the NBA from last night. What happened to the Celtics? And, of course, the news, Jason Tatum out for the season.
Yeah, that's huge news, and that sucks for the Celtics. I mean that's your best player, and he's going down with an Achilles injury, and it's going to really make you think. I mean, Achilles, you're out. Most people are out for a year or more, right? So, and so like, what are they going to do moving forward? And that's like a championship caliber team most years, at least recently, right? So it's like, what are they going to do in the building blocks? And the draft lottery already happened, so the NBA can't rig that for them. So.
There's always next year. There's always next year.
So what are they going to do? What are they going to do from here on out?
Well, I don't see anything that's coming from Danny Ainge and saying, "Hey, let's do this, let's do that," and they get like 2 first-round picks in the top 3, like they did a few years ago. My lord.
Yeah. That's what started the whole championship run for them, was all those picks. I mean, that was a smart move by them.
Sure, hands down.
Yeah,
hands down. But who knows? Does Al Horford come back for his 50th season? That's question number one.
Yeah, but he's getting up there.
I would have to listen. If you can't hold a lead, Boston, this thing should have been over. But if you can't hold a lead, I think the coach got to go. I mean, look, they already got rid of the guy from Denver, and he won a championship 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I mean, and they were up, game 1, they were up by 20. And then the game 2, they were up by 18 at some point, right? And
right.
Then both leads crumbled and fall to the Knicks. And at home. Not in New York. You're in Boston, and that happens.
Right. And you can't even cover your own turf?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like where the landscape is in the NBA, too, I feel like, is like so many teams are too dependent on the three. Right, the Celtics were shooting up. I forget how many shots, but they had 40 attempts at 3 in one game. That's just way too many threes. You're living and dying by it, and then they were dying by it.
Right. Exactly. Live and die by the 3. But things change. The defense kind of locks up. They lock in and lock up players in the sense of they play serious defense. I remember the Miami Heat back in the day when Riley was even coaching. And they were just 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, in the regular season, and just totally, didn't show up in the playoffs. So, and they had some great talent. There's Hardaway, you had Mourning back in the day. I mean, this was before the LeBron super team.
Yeah.
But
Mourning finally got a championship with when Shaq joined the team, when him and D Wade led the way. Right. And I used to love Alonzo Mourning. He was such an underrated player. He was so good. He was great defensively too.
I ran into one of our colleagues this morning, and we talked about and we appreciate the support guys that are watching our YouTube. And he told me, he's like, "Hey, is the NBA rigged?" And we discussed that last time in episode 1. However, he mentioned something that, hey, there was a story where Shaq came out. And when they were going to pick him for the Atlanta Magic, it was kind of like wink, wink,
Yeah,
everything worked out.
I heard that same story. It was like David Stern was the commissioner back then. He's the one that started the lottery, if you remember that.
Right.
He was the one that started the whole thing. And Shaq said before he was drafted, Stern asked him and said, "Hey, do you want to go to a cold weather team or a warm weather team?" And then Shaq said, I would warm weather. And he said, The next thing you know, he came up with the envelope and he gave Shaq a little wink. And then it had Orlando's name got pulled out.
And that happened I heard the exact story this morning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to bring this up. But also, in addition to that, that's when they got Penny Hardaway the next year or the
Yep.
year before that. I don't even remember that, but okay. But
Yeah, they
uh,
were
it's,
they were both together.
it's the
That
same
was a
thing
good
with
game.
the Spurs. How do you
Hmm.
have the Admiral and then all of a sudden you get Tim Duncan?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Imagine that,
Yep.
and
It's
you know what
crazy.
happened there. Who
And
knows?
then so there was LeBron was just on Pat McAfee's show
Right.
uh about a month or two ago, and he was talking about when he was getting into the draft. He said
Hmm.
he doesn't think it was a coincidence that Cleveland got the first overall pick in 2003 in that draft for him to stay in Cleveland because I mean, he's the hometown hero,
Right.
and they thought it would boost that city up like crazy, which it did. I mean, Cleveland's economy was based on LeBron James for a good part of the early 2000s. So, so yeah, so he was saying he was surprised with that. And then I talked about this a little bit yesterday. As when he left Cleveland, that's when they got Kyrie. And then the
Right.
second year, right after that, they got Wiggins. They got back-to-back number one picks. And then LeBron came back the year after that, and they were saying like they were stacking the team again to get LeBron to come back to Cleveland again.
Sure.
It just happens all the time, and it's they need to change the system. You
Right.
can't have teams like the Jazz that had 17 wins, the Wizards had 18 wins, and and then they're both out of the top. They're both picking fifth and sixth now. Like
Right.
they
Right.
need to make it where like maybe like the bottom three or four teams have a chance to win the first pick, you know. But like you
Right.
can't have somebody like the Mavericks who were in the playoffs this year getting the
Right.
first
Right.
round pick,
Right. Right.
first overall pick.
I blame Patrick Ewing. It all started because of him. That's when it all started. And speaking of injuries, and before we even get to that, you guys can see, folks, you can see the ticker in the studio here that it's going across. And talked about injuries. We talked about, of course, Donovan Mitchell being hurt with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and looks like they're struggling with Indiana tonight with an ankle injury. I don't even know if he's playing or not as we speak because I have that in
I,
was that
and
screen four?
I was surprised that the Indiana was like +8 or something like that at tip off.
Yeah,
I jumped on that and I was I think they cover that easily
sure,
before the game.
sure,
And because like Indiana's a good squad. They don't have
absolutely,
any like they don't have any good, huge superstars or anything like that, but like
right.
they're a good squad.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Don't sleep on Indiana, and obviously they're up. I think they're up by 8 right now.
Yeah.
Um, but oh, that's perfect. So technically, you're up by 16. That's how the betting works.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so and then of course we've got the NHL on the main TV here, but you can see the ticker going across right above my head. So it's still 1-1. It started the second period with the Stars and the geez,
Jets.
the Wings, excuse me, not the
Yeah.
Jets, excuse me, the Winnipeg
Yeah.
Jets. Um, and one of our super fan is down there and rooting for the Dallas Stars. So is we. That's what we have here planned for our bets today. You had that earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I picked my was one of my plays today was the Dallas Stars to win in regulation. Um Low scoring compared to some of the other games against the Dallas and Jets.
right.
Not that they were super high scoring, but Hellebuyck, the goalie for the Jets, he's been terrible on the road this
Yes.
whole postseason. Like
Yes.
this whole postseason.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
came
Yes.
across I came across a Twitter post the other day that said that like his away save percentage was like 0.783 or something like that.
Jeez.
And if you're doing that as a goalie, it's hard to win, right? What's helping them right now is that the Stars only have like I think 5 shots on goal, or at least they did at the end of the first period. But one of them went in already, so
Right.
so
Right.
so that proves right there. Like I mean, what's that? That's a 80% save percentage right there. So and that's not good. League average is just over 900. 90% save percentage, just over 900. Um, and so if he keeps playing like that on the road, that's why I thought Stars regulation all the way. Um, and then I saw that also the Jets are getting outscored on the road in the playoffs this year, 22-7, which is
Mm.
ridiculous, right? So on the road in these playoffs, they're getting outscored 22-7. They haven't won a road game, obviously. If you're getting outscored like that, it's going to be hard to do, right? So, yeah, the Dallas money line, 60-minute money line was I thought the play to go, especially because it was a plus money on most sites. I
Right.
thought that was great value. Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of concern though with one of your prop bets. If you're saying that Dallas only, attempted 5 shots on goal, does that, do you worry about your one of your prop bets there?
Yeah. So my other prop bet there was Rantanen to get over 2.5 shots on goal.
Right.
He didn't have one in the first, but he tends to pick it up as the game goes on. I don't remember like in round one he had a hat trick in the third period alone,
Right.
right, to seal the game for them to win the game to go on the game round two. So I'm not concerned about him at all. I think he'll pick it up here. I have the game over here on the side. That's why I keep looking over. But
Right.
as we're filming here,
Business.
yeah,
I know I need to
got
get
to keep up.
a mirror or whatever in the studio here to kind of say, okay, hey, I can look at it. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm literally looking at it from my screen, but there's got to be a way.
Oh, I'm
So I
sure.
could just
Yeah,
check it, but I could
you
read
just need
the
you just need
ticker on
another
the back.
TV behind
That's what I'm saying.
behind the
Yeah,
camera.
that's what we. Yeah, that's exactly that's what we need to do.
And I saw something that's crazy too that this was Sportsnet Canada set this out.
Right.
Um for the same series same season playoff run. Uh Rantanen, just tell you how much like locked in he's in this postseason.
Right.
He's accounted for 64% of his team's goals in the postseason.
Hmm.
That means either goal or assist. So one of the two he's been a part of. 64%, and then that's like the highest all time. And then like the names on the list that were below him, like
Right.
it was like Stan Mikita, which I always think of Wayne's World because that's the restaurant they went to.
Yeah.
Stan Mikita's. They had a talking head when they're taking
What,
the
what,
order.
but hold on, wasn't Al Bundy like the manager or
Yeah,
something? I
yeah,
know.
he was the. But every time I see his name, that's all I think of is Wayne's World. But he was next, and then below that was Wayne Gretzky, and then Rocket Richard was behind him. That's who the best goal scorer every year. The trophy that they give out is the Rocket Richard trophy. I mean, so it's like a who's of list that
Right.
he's number one right now. And I was like, good God, that's like a crazy list to be on top of.
They don't make movies like that anymore. There's
Oh,
someone
Wayne's
I
World, no.
know. There's someone I know who literally is like a Stacy, and it's got like the psycho music. My lord.
Bought me a
You
gun rack.
remember in the movie it was like, hey, she was like a I know Michael Myers or Wayne in the movie hooks up with Tia Carrera, right? But
Yeah,
at the end or in the middle throughout the movie, but then there's like a old girlfriend who's like totally a psychopath, is like always following. Hello, Wayne. What's up? What are you doing? Where are you coming? Like so possessive. I'm like, oh my lord.
such a good movie.
Yeah, that was such a
Such a
good movie. Such a good movie. The not only the WNBA is about to start, and we have, of course, our new handicapper Murph, the queen of the courts, who will be, of course, giving those picks out, and we'll post that all throughout our social media through X, Instagram, and hopefully we can figure out this TikTok. I have no idea what I'm doing there. So
I don't know about I don't I'm not I've never been on TikTok, so
yeah,
that's a generation or two below me.
yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah,
I am excited for WNBA. WNBA, I typically do pretty well money wise in
yeah,
WNBA.
yeah.
What I've found out with WNBA is like it's not as heavily bet as some other sports, so the lines
Sure.
aren't as sharp. You get a lot better value on some picks.
And I think that you have to hop on the line quick because if they do
Yes,
like the
you do.
Wizards or not the Wizards, excuse me, they do the Mystics minus three. I think it opened at minus 3.5. Or the Mystics was actually plus 3.5. They're playing the Dream. They're hosting the Dream on Friday on the opener, but now it's shot up to 4.5. So and we're not even what are we 2 days out from the start of
Yeah,
the season. So you
yeah,
definitely is going to go up. And then if you're playing the over under guys, that you definitely want to check out as soon as the books release those numbers to get the best number, regardless of. So it's either FanDuel, DraftKings, of course, our friends over at Bet Rivers. Um, there's that shout out right there.
yeah.
But there's multiple books. I mean, just check out your local books, and then you'll see what best number that you get. So, in
And
addition to that,
I'll tell you
Go
one
ahead.
one prop bet that hit a lot last year that I'm guarantee you'll probably do it a lot as the season goes on.
Mhm.
Angel Reese over in rebounds. The girl can't shoot, and she gets a lot of her own rebounds. So, so
So
that
she's
prop bet.
so she's the guy. So she's like the guy from what was it? The Denver Nuggets? The guy that came from Purdue.
From who? Oh, Purdue.
What
Um,
was it? Edie?
Edie. Edie. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's he play for? Denver?
No, Edie plays for Grizzlies.
Oh, he played
Memphis.
for the Grizzlies.
Memphis.
So
And he
so
gets a lot
so
of rebounds, but he's like because he's like 7'6" or something like that, seven
right,
five, however tall he's
right.
like, and his arm span is like 7'8" or something like that. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
so that's easy a 10 rebound lock every time
yeah.
he plays. So we clean
Well,
up on
during,
that.
during the playoffs, we posted that a bunch on X on Twitter.
Absolutely.
We posted that a bunch, and it hit like every single time. 10 plus rebounds, 10 plus
Absolutely.
rebounds. Just keep rolling in the dough there. Just kept going in. I don't, it
So
took Vegas a long time to finally move the line. Eventually,
I
they moved
know.
it to 11, and then they moved it to 12. And I was like, all right, they're finally catching on because
Yeah,
it was
catch
it
on.
was
We're like, okay, wait a second, what's going on here? The casinos never want to lose money. In addition, throughout the week, and before we get to the NFL schedule, which comes out tomorrow will also be the first midweek for MLS. So I've got my 5 picks. They are, of course, our local team here at DC United, not doing that great. Um, will be taking on the Red Bulls of New York, and that's something that you don't like talking about, the New York Red Bulls. You're not a
no. Who
fan of
like
the
who
New
likes
York Red Bulls.
no
Okay.
no.
Uh,
What's your best play for tomorrow? Do you think for MLS?
So I think the bet. Well, I looked at my algorithm and I said, "Hey, let's work on the draw," and I sent that to you. I didn't post that as one of my top 5 from, so that's why I only went 4-1 from last week, from this past Saturday night. I didn't. I played the Sunday because it was only one game because it was, of course, Mother's Day, and shout out to all the moms out there. Um, and that's where I tested my algorithm. I went back and said, oh man, I wanted the 0-0. It came out 1-0 or 1-0, as they say in soccer. So I did the draw, and it came out as a personal friend of mine always calls it the Desmond Tutu. So it ended up 2-2 draw. And well, I looked back at it and I said, hey, that the algorithm definitely works, but what is the main thing that we need to work on in my algorithm? And I found out. But to answer your question, as I pull it up here, my best one, I would have to say, obviously we want to look for the value, but we're not looking for the we obviously we want to look at the value in regards of the plus money. I have no problem with that. There's a lot of handicappers out there. Hey, we want to take this particular team at plus 450. Does it hit? Sure. For me, I think with the midweek, since they just played this past Saturday, I think it's going to be a very difficult. How do they rest? Usually they play during the middle of the week anyway with different tournaments, what have you, with the clubs. But to answer your question, my best bet, I know Inter Milan is pissed, or Inter Miami, excuse me, Inter Miami is pissed off. So they take on the San Jose Earthquakes. I have Inter Miami draw no bet just to be safe, okay? Because you never know who's going
Yeah.
to show up. So draw no bet. That means you get your money back, guys. Whatever you stake, if it happens to end in a draw, you get your money back. But they're currently DraftKings is offering that at minus 110. So that's definitely one of my best bets. My second best bet, I would say, and you can all check this out check it out on Twitter and of course, or X as they call it, and then of course Instagram. But the other one that I like is, which is plus money, is an away game for the Columbus Crew. Now they play tomorrow night at 7:30. Columbus is one of the top teams in the MLS this year, and they're taking on a team, CF Montreal. They actually won a game, one of the very few that they've won. This is their 13th week we're going into it, so I don't see them winning 2 in a row. So that one, take the Columbus money line at plus 110. So those are my
Yeah.
2 best ones. I have my list of 5. I'm going to get perfect. And when I do, I'm waiting for that Street Fighter. video. I know you're going to put that perfect, something like that. So I'm waiting for that. So hopefully it hits. I think I was really tempted of putting up a draw just to see if my algorithm worked, but I did not. So, I mean, you can throw in a little pizza money on that, but and then of course we've got the EPL. I'm working on that, and so that comes out now. It'll be on Sunday because we have the FA Cup, which will take place on Saturday. So lots going on. But then of course we
Yeah,
dive into. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying like what you're saying about like plus money. Nothing wrong with minus 110. That I mean that's like your standard line bet, right? So like the
Yeah,
over unders are usually minus 110.
yeah,
So those are great. I mean, I just try to stay away from the ones that are like minus 200 or more because there's just no value
right,
there for those.
right,
It's just no like
right.
you're just you're putting up your wager too much for if one thing goes wrong. It's like it's not worth the risk to me
And I've seen
when you're
people,
with that.
and I've seen bettors like go to Vegas. Hey, I'm $100,000 on. We talked March Madness, Duke to win at minus 1,000, and then they
Yeah,
lose.
yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. So I'm like, holy cow, $100,000.
Minus one, yeah. Put $1,000 up to $100. Yeah, there's no
Right.
way.
Yeah, I
By the
ain't
way,
doing it.
while
Yeah,
you were talking, stars scored.
yeah.
Back up on top. 2-1.
All right, 2-1. So we're back on top.
Yeah,
Okay, so we just need to come on, clock. Come on, clock. In
plus
addition to
yeah,
that, I know our graphic designer Ola is designing some French Open stuff. We did a preview on that. That's on X. Our main man PJ will be sending us his best bets for the tournament. But we have to wait, of course, for the draw. We talked about the wise man jumping on board with the college football and basketball. So he is already working. He's already looking at the data, creating his algorithms and seeing his best bets. And now there have been some for week 0 in college football. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But so the spread has come out for some of those games. But we return our focus to the NFL. So we don't have a graphic for it yet. We're still working on it. We got to figure out this OBS where the guys have designed, and you'll like this, Shano, where they have like the spread underneath, and it just cycles through, with all the games, etc. So you'll see it. Hopefully
nice.
we can get that up and running for you guys. But I have this here as I'm pulling this up. I sent this to you earlier in a sense of September 4th, where the Cowboys are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, and the
Week
spread's
one.
already out.
Yeah,
It's
week
at
one. Right.
-7.
That's the opening game because
That is the
Philly's
opening game.
hosting because champ always hosts. That's
Right,
one the rumor that the Skins were rumored to be a part of. Thankfully,
right,
we're not because like that usually that opening game the crowd's all pumped, it's all crazy.
right.
So thankfully it's the Cowboys that have to deal with that nonsense.
So so before we jump into this again, it's the end of the second period. As you can see behind me, the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars go into the locker room. So we have here, of course, we're going back to this September 4th. The schedule officially has not come out, but September 4th. They don't even have a time on this, Shano, but it's the Philadelphia Eagles -7, and they have it on DraftKings at -110. The over and under, the total here is at 46.5. That's tempting. Now, the of course you mentioned about money line. Don't take 100,000 or $1,000 whatever and put it on Philadelphia. I'm not saying to do that or not, but it's currently at -310, where the Dallas Cowboys are at +250. Now, I've seen bettors in the past that actually bet stuff like this, but they get screwed sometimes because, hey, if you take Philly at -310, and I'm just saying, so I don't want any terrible feedback or comments in the chat there, but during training camp, right, hey, he blows out his knee. Jalen Hurts blows out his
Yeah,
knee, or Barkley, gets, paper cut, whatever. So it happens,
the,
and then you're stuck
the,
with
I,
that number.
yeah, it's like the same thing of like if you're doing like a fantasy league, right?
Right,
I hate doing fantasy drafts like before the third preseason game because
Right,
like injuries always happen at some
right.
point. Some key injury happens. Usually Christian McCaffrey. Um,
So you want it. Speaking of draft or fantasy draft, you definitely want to set your. I think that this is common knowledge. I don't know, but usually I always suggest to do it after Labor Day or Labor Day weekend because no one plays. That's how it used to be, where we had four preseason games. Now it's three. So week one usually gets a little. We've noticed that in the data in the last week. Jumping to another game here, courtesy of DraftKings, is later in September, September 28th, which is a Sunday game, is the Minnesota Vikings at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Vikings at minus 1.5, and they're at money line at minus 122. The total there at 42.5. But the question is, who are you having for quarterback if you're at Pittsburgh?
and I don't think it's just Pittsburgh because you got to think Sam Darnold was quarterback for the Vikings last year. He's
Okay, so
gone.
do you have
I mean,
McCarthy?
and they trust
Right,
they trust McCarthy apparently from last year, but he only had what one or two preseason starts or not even starts like playing
right,
time last year.
right.
So is he
And
really going to be ready? You know, so it's like I
that's
think
true.
that one's like kind of like a toss up for sure. The
And he,
Vikings are a strong team though, and then
right,
most quarterbacks or can just throw it up to Justin Jefferson and be okay. So,
sure,
um, yeah,
sure. I got no problem with
um,
that. But he's coming off. McCarthy's coming off knee surgery. I think he
right,
blew out his knee there. So usually it takes a year, but who knows?
yeah.
Yeah,
And like you said with the Pittsburgh too, it's like I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. I have no idea who's going to be starting there. They did trade away Pickens too, like their best receiver out there, but I think he was a little malcontent out in Pittsburgh. So he's in Dallas now. Hopefully that him and CD Lamb start butting heads and there's drama in Dallas. um, but so they traded Pickens away, went down there. So I think that's going to be up in the air. Pittsburgh still has a good defense. They still have a great pass rush, right? So
mm-hmm.
TJ Watt can still get after the quarterback there. They still have a great defensive line that can get to the quarterback. Um, but I think for the Vikings, they're just as much as a question mark just because of the quarterback situation.
I got news for you. Pittsburgh's not spending 50. What does Rodgers want? 50 million a year? Yeah, that's not happening. That's
No,
not happening. No, that's not
no,
happening.
no. There's no way.
There's
I
no way.
wouldn't pay him that.
No. So as we
League,
wrap up,
league,
go ahead.
league minimum, sign him right up. Let's say league minimum, sign him right up. I'll do that.
Sure, I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. As we wrap this up here, guys, for another episode, we'll be back shortly with, of course, more graphics to share with you, and of course the NFL schedule, which is of course being released tomorrow. We will cover the NFC East first, and we'll get, of course, our analysis on both the defending world champions. And I mean, you got to respect the champs. I understand that. We may not like them, even though the mayor of Philadelphia can't even spell their own team. But hey, for each their own. The Dallas
Yeah,
Cowboys.
they're a strong team. You have to respect them. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
I'll give you that. I'll give them that. I
yeah,
mean, I
you
think
have to.
I think the defense totally Fangio totally carried that whole thing. But the Giants, we'll talk about them. I don't know. It looks like a debacle over there. And see what they do, and of course our Washington team to see exactly what the sophomore jinx, is that going to happen or not? Obviously, we're not wishing for that, but you never know. So until next time, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button on the YouTube channel for this particular episode and episodes from before. I think we had a great episode on the first one, but we're still trying this out, guys. So just please be a little patient with us. But until then, and from the studios here, I am, of course, Joe the Fan and Shane O'Mac, and we will definitely see you next time. Don't forget, just win bets, baby.